Hey, this week let's change it up a bit. We're going to look at building out a Jazzmaster. So no pedals this week. We are changing it up and we're going to look at what it takes to build out your very own guitar. In my case, it's going to be a Jazzmaster. It's a project I've been looking to do for some time now. I've built out my own Telecaster before, but just looking for a little bit of a different sound, and I thought a Jazzmaster would be there. The build's going to be centered around this body, which is a Squier Vintage Modified Jazzmaster body in Sonic Blue. I got this at a really good price point, and I looked at getting a Warmoth body like I did with my previous build, which was a Telecaster, but this was just such a good cost that I couldn't pass it up. Maybe down the road I'll swap it out, but for right now, I think that this will achieve everything I want in the way of a body. As you can see, the cavity's already painted with the non-conductive paint. I think I'm going to go ahead and probably shield this with copper anyway. I think it works a little bit better. I had to figure out some stuff for the bridge and the tremolo system, which I'll get into, but great starting point here with this vintage modified Jazzmaster body. So the next important piece to any build is going to be your neck, and maybe the most important piece, depending on how you like the feel, the cut, etc. Again, another good purchase. I got this off of Kijiji in Canada. I think it was maybe $60 or $70 that I spent for it, which for the price is pretty reasonable. The neck is in good condition. It does need a little bit of work. The frets are starting to show some grime, as are the actual fretboard needs to be cleaned. Also, you can see the nut here is just a standard plastic nut that comes on a vintage modified Squier neck, and I'm going to pop that out and put in a proper TusqXL nut. Self-lubricating. I've put them on all my guitars and I've never had an issue with them, so I think they're a good cheap option to upgrade any neck. Other minor things that I'm going to change out, as you know, this doesn't have any tuners. I looked at just getting the standard vintage tuners, and for the extra $15 I went ahead and got some Gotoh machine heads, which are locking. And I think that will provide a nice upgrade to the vintage modified neck. Additionally with that, I also want to change out the string tree. I ordered some Kluson rolling string trees. Again, I put these on all my necks, and I just find with the nut and the rolling string tree, you really avoid any improper detuning or anything like that. You don't have to worry about the string getting caught in the nut. So next up is the electronics. I was able to grab this American Special pickguard, fully stocked with 65 pickups in it, on the cheap off of Stratosphere. There is a small issue with the wiring, which I can just easily fix with my soldering iron, but it does have the nice Jazzmaster switching and some CTS pots and a good audio jack. So I'm really happy with this. Really, all the stuff that I've bought for this build has been on the cheap, and that's really how you can build out a guitar with good components at a low cost. I've been gathering these components for probably about 2 years, and I think I'm going to be about $350 into this build, maybe a little bit more when I'm all said and done. Another just thing I noticed on this pickguard, it's still got the plastic wrap on the top, so that's one step I'm going to have to go, and I'm going to have to unwire it all anyway, but unwiring it will allow me to cleanly rip off that protective plastic. So really like this. I think the color combination will go good with the Sonic Blue body and the maple neck, but I guess we'll wait and see how it looks when it's all together. So last up is the bridge and tremolo assembly. Starting with the bridge, if you're familiar with Jazzmasters, you know their bridges are fairly problematic. They don't have the proper slotting, so when you're bending, strings can actually pop out of the saddles. A really easy thing to fix this is just take a Mustang bridge and drop it right in. It's a drop-in replacement for a Jazzmaster bridge. You'll get that better slotting and you won't lose the string when you're bending. The unfortunate side of that is a Mustang bridge is usually cut for a 7¼ inch fretboard radius, where most Jazzmasters have a 9½ inch fretboard radius. Aside from that, you could actually go to a tune-o-matic or adjust-o-matic bridge. I know Fender does this on their American specials when they have the stop-tail bridge, or they're using some other type of tremolo assembly. The issue there is adjust-o-matic and tune-o-matic bridges have a 12-inch fretboard radius. So again, you're going to run into that same issue where nothing properly lines up and you might have an issue setting your action. So what I've done here is I've actually went with this Gotoh bridge, and it is really set up for a tune-o-matic bridge, but the difference here is I can adjust the saddle height individually. So although it will, I think standard setup, do 12-inch radius fretboard, I can adjust these saddles and get it closer to a 9.5-inch radius fretboard, which is what my neck is. So I really like this option. I would recommend it. They are hard to find with these adjustable saddles, height adjustable, but take a look and yeah, get one if you've got a Jazzmaster. I definitely wanted to do something different with the tremolo system. I could have just dropped in a Fender or Squier tremolo. I know a lot of people like those, but I really did like the look of the American Special Jazzmasters that came out, I think it was last year or the year before, that had the Bigsby attached to it. I don't know what it was, I just really liked that look. So I went ahead and ordered this Vibramate adapter kit for Jazzmasters and Jaguars, which allows you to cover up the Jazzmaster tremolo hole and mount a Bigsby Vibrato on top. So I got that, and then I turned around and got my Bigsby. I got a really good deal on this one on eBay. If you scour and you find something, they also have 20% discounts that come up on eBay every now and again, and you can get really good deals on stuff like this. This is the B50 Bigsby, I believe, and I'm really excited to see what this looks like with the Gotoh bridge, the black pickguard, and the sonic blue and maple neck. Really excited to get started with this build. I really can't wait to see what it looks like when it's all together. So with that, let's take these guys to the workbench and start assembling some of these parts. So we're back from the workshop and we have completed our Squier Vintage Modified, heavily modified Jazzmaster. Really digging the look on this. It's got the sonic blue body with the black pickguard. I love the contrast with the cream pickup covers and control knobs. As for the Vibramate, I really love the look of this on here. I wasn't sure how it was going to look with this metal plate underneath the Bigsby, but it works perfectly, fit perfectly, no complaints here. Really love this look. As for the headstock, you know, we've got our Gotoh locking tuners, the vintage style with the wheels on the back to lock them. We've got our rolling string tree, our TusqXL nut. And if you remember, I put in 65 Jazzmaster pickups in this, plugged it in, it sounds pretty good. But first I want to tell you a little bit about some things that I missed in the time-lapse video. One of the things that wasn't in the time-lapse, not because I didn't do it or didn't record it, but just because I didn't have to do it. And that is in reference to this Tusk nut. So normally when I shape a nut for a guitar neck, I've got to thin out the width of it, and I've also got to change the height of it. This one, right out of the package, came with almost the perfect width. I didn't have to really adjust it at all. It pressure fit in there nicely. I did add a little bit of glue, as you saw, something that I sometimes do, sometimes don't. I thought this was a little bit looser than the way I would normally put it in there, so added a little bit of glue and it's in there nice and firm. Other than that, the height of it was perfect. I compared the height of this nut with the nut that was in there, which I knew was at a good height, and it was almost bang on. So I didn't have to do any filing of the bottom of it. It really just was pure luck that saved me that effort with this Tusk nut. The second thing that wasn't in the time-lapse, and I really wish I would have got it because it wasn't interesting, and probably the biggest change to this body that I had to do, has to do with the bridge alignment. So as you can see here, the bridge is not parallel with the pickups. Originally, this body had the parallel alignment of the bridge, but this pickguard didn't. That's because vintage Jazzmasters had the parallel alignment, whereas this pickguard is from an American Special, I believe a 2018. It's now gone to the offset alignment. And I believe that just adds the ability to better intonate your guitar. So for me, instead of going and adjusting the pickguard, I wanted that better intonation. So I moved that, that hole here, I believe it was, back about 4 or 5 mils to fix it. So the way I did that was I just took a maple dowel. It was 3/8 in diameter and filled the existing hole. Just used a little bit of wood glue, filed it down, got it nice and flush, and then drilled my new hole at the same diameter and was able to move that, that bridge back to an offset position. So I'm really excited about how this guitar turned out, but I'm not quite ready to demo it for you guys. There's one issue that I have to fix before I give you guys some sounds, and that has to do with the bridge. If you're familiar with Jazzmasters, and I probably should have known this going in, is when you add an adjust-o-matic bridge to a Jazzmaster, you're going to increase that bridge height and you're going to end up with a pretty decent action. With this, I think I'm around 3 mils at the 12th fret, which is quite high for me. I was able to lower it a little bit with my height adjustable saddles, but not enough that I would say it plays like I want it. The best way I can describe it right now is it's probably set up like a poorly adjusted Les Paul. So to fix this, I have 2 options. One would be to change the break angle of the neck. So if you look at my guitar here, and I'll try to do it without hitting anything, I could add a shim to this neck pocket that would make my neck go like this, so tilt backwards, which would lower the action at the earlier frets, essentially bring the neck in line with the strings. That's the easiest option. Unfortunately, that's probably not what I'm going to do. I did some research online, and from what I understand, if you have a guitar that is flat top and it was supposed to have a 0 break angle in the neck, you should try to keep it as such. So to do that, I'm going to have to recess this bridge. So I'm going back into the patient after I've already operated on them, and I'm going to actually recess this bridge in a later video. I think this will work the best. I've still got the adjust-o-matic bridge there, so I can raise it or lower it if need be. But I think that is probably the way I want to go. I'm not worried about pulling that bridge off this body again, so I'm not worried about doing something that I'm going to want to reverse. I've already been in on the bridge once before, so going in there again and doing some more work, it's all going to be hidden by the pickguard anyway. So normally here I'd probably try to play you guys something on the way out, but like I said, I want to leave that for a later video. I also think going through the process of cutting out a template and recessing this bridge is going to be something that's going to be interesting, and I think that will make for a video of itself. So with that, I'm going to leave it here. If you guys have any questions on the build, any questions on the time-lapse that you saw, definitely let me know. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So until next week, I guess we'll see you and see where this build goes.